The fog is burning off the Klamath River here in Northern California. I'm just gonna sweep off the roof and we're gonna pack up and get going to Oregon. We're really enjoying our drive up the Pacific Coast Scenic Highway on the coast of Oregon today. And there's a couple of things I had marked on my map as a want to go that were just little oddities. And I thought as we're passing by them, why don't we just see if we can pull over with the RV and check them out. So the first one is the end of US Route 20 here in Newport, Oregon. This route is the longest highway in the United States, 3,365 miles long, and it starts in Boston, Massachusetts, just a little bit south of where our daughter Bryn lives. So we'll have to be sure and visit the beginning of it when we're back in Boston, but this is the end of it all the way across the country. You know, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love old historic cross-country routes. And Route 20 was built in 1926, which is the same year that Route 66 was started. So that's very cool. Now we are at Depot Bay, I'm not sure how to say it, which is labeled on the map as the smallest harbor in the world. It is very tiny, and there's lots of boats moored here. I think they can go out to the ocean pretty easily from here. So I'm just looking for a sign to see if it says smallest harbor in the world. We'll see what we can find. It's like the boats go out right underneath this bridge over here.
So there must be some definition of what a harbor is that makes this meet that definition. I don't know what it is. Obviously go to the ocean, but is how it's protected, how it's self-defined, self-contained.
It's always nice when there's accommodation for a big RV near a spot that you want to see. The third site we're stopping at is the Dee River. Now, at one time, this little short river was the Guinness World Record holder for the shortest river in the world at 440 feet. Now, what makes a river? It has to be fed from something on one end, like a lake or a pond or something like that has to be fed, and then empty out into a sea or an ocean or a bigger body of water. So there's a little lake here called Devil's Lake, and it feeds into the Dee River, and then it just goes a short distance under this bridge out to the Pacific Ocean. Well, in 1989, Guinness decided that there was a river in Montana that was shorter, the Roe River in Montana, and then they labeled that as the shortest river in the world. Well, there became this big controversy and feud between Lincoln City, Oregon, and this town in Montana about who had the shortest river. And so the Guinness Book of World Records settled the dispute by, in 2006, they decided to stop listing who was the shortest river in the world. So they don't list it in their record book anymore. I guess that solved the dispute. It's a bit tight here at Pacific City Thousand Trails. Trying to get into this site right here. But we have no cell signal to talk to each other. Can't go that way. We are wedged into this site. Well, we got in. It wasn't actually a bad parking job, but the site is just so short that our truck is kind of stuck out near the road, and we're in these bushes that we can't hardly get around. And the sewer seems to be higher than normal. See this? It's on top of this stone and it's really high, and I'm not sure if it's going to drain really well, but it's okay. It is what it is. We'll be fine. So we're only here for 3 nights, 2 days, and we're excited to do some fun things on the Oregon coast here. Tomorrow we're going to go to the Tillamook Creamery, and there's some great Lewis and Clark sites around here, so we're going to have a great 2 days. And this is our chance to collect the state of Oregon. We've never been here with the RV. Jason's been here for business, but I've never been to the state of Oregon, so excited to be here. So we're out driving the Three Capes Scenic Byway today up the coast of Oregon around Tillamook. We're going to go over to Tillamook in a little bit. We're at Cape Meares right now. This is the northernmost cape. And, you know, it's really chilly and windy today. And we have been timing this trip to the Pacific Northwest to try to get good weather. So that's why we hung out in California for so long, because we didn't want to get north too fast and have just, you know, miserable, chilly weather. Well, it's mid-April right now, and I wouldn't say it's miserable. It's cloudy, it's rainy, it's cold. What else would there be from Oregon in April? But we just didn't want to get up here in February or March. We knew it would be bad. So this is we're at the very edge of the shoulder season here. But we're going to forge up into the Pacific Northwest and into Canada over the next several weeks. Someone's having a problem back here. So all along the Pacific Coastal Highway 101 up the coast of Oregon, when we were driving up yesterday, we saw signs for tsunami evacuation areas. And I had no concept that tsunamis were ever hitting Oregon or the Pacific Northwest. So I looked it up, and it said there have been 24 tsunamis that have hit the coast of Oregon. And the last one was in 2011. That was when there was a big earthquake in Japan, and it pushed the tsunami all the way across the Pacific Ocean into the coast of Oregon. That's crazy. Here at Cape Meares, there's signs for something called the octopus tree. We're just coming upon it now, and it is really cool. Here at the Tillamook Creamery in Tillamook, Oregon. I've heard of Tillamook cheese and ice cream, seen it in the stores, but I don't know if I've ever tried it before. But this is a huge factory, and you can do a self-guided tour upstairs, or you can pay for a premium tour downstairs. We're gonna do the upstairs tour. got the cheese, we got the ice cream. That was a good stop. We're on our way up to Astoria, Oregon today, which is a very, very northwestern tip of Oregon, because we want to go to some Lewis and Clark sites up there. But on the way, we've pulled over to Cannon Beach to see Haystack Rock. This is a huge coastal monolith rock. What a beautiful site here in coastal Oregon. Oops, here goes the water. So I'm just starting to learn about Lewis and Clark. I'm hoping to learn a lot more throughout the day. But we've pulled over to Seaside, Oregon, because there's a salt works here, a salt cairn, that apparently in 1806, the Lewis and Clark expedition was camped north of here. But they were looking for salt so that they could preserve their food and make the food taste better. But the salt water up where they were was diluted by the freshwater river. So they came south and I guess came to a Native American village here that was already set up with some cabins and houses. And then they established a salt works here, I guess with the natives' help, and boiled the salt water off to make salt, and ended up producing 28 gallons of salt that they could take back up to the expedition. So they would make a fire underneath there and then boil the salt water in these buckets until all the water evaporated off and they had salt. Hey, we were just driving out of the town of Seaside and we saw a sign for Thousand Trails, and we're always interested to check out other Thousand Trails campgrounds if we want to come back to the area. This Thousand Trails Seaside is really lovely. The sites are spacious, and look at this indoor pool. You hardly ever find an indoor pool at Thousand Trails, often pools, but not indoor. And their hot tub is working, which is also unusual.
It's very, very nice.
Wow. And this is really close to Astoria. And it's right on the ocean. This is a great location.
Yeah, we're kind of near the border now too, right?
Of Washington,
Yep.
yeah. So usually what we do in these situations is we drive up to the gate, because Thousand Trails are almost always gated. And we tell the people in the gatehouse that we're Thousand Trails members and we'd like to come in and see the campground to see if we would like to come back here in the future. And they've always, not given us any problem with that. This place did ask to see our Thousand Trails membership card, which I don't think I've ever had to pull out before. Usually they just take our name or whatever, or sometimes they just let us in to see the campground. But this is gorgeous here. And I'm so glad it turned out to be such a nice day. This morning it was raining and cloudy and miserable, and I thought, oh, is this what Oregon is like all the time? But the rain burned off and it's a beautiful sunny day now. All right, we're continuing up Route 101 up to Astoria. But on the way, I'm doing a quick pullover to grab our Oregon geocache. We have never gotten a geocache here before. And if you watch some of our older videos, you know that we're trying to collect one in every state. So this is our 42nd state to collect one. And, I'm just over on the side of the highway here. Like, we're at a way station. This is where this one is. And the older I get and the more I do geocaching, especially because the kids aren't with us anymore, I just want to grab whatever is the easiest one. I'm not looking for like the most interesting or going to special sites or anything like that. So I don't know if that's cheating, but I just want to get whatever one is the easiest so that I can collect the state and move on. Well, that was a little tougher than it should have been, but I found it. So we're at the Fort Clatsop Visitor Center. This is a National Historical Park. So a National Park unit, we were able to get in with our America the Beautiful Pass. Otherwise, it's $10. And there is a replica of Fort Clatsop, which is the camp that Lewis and Clark built when they reached the Oregon coast at the end of their journey. They built this camp so that they could winter here before returning back east. So if you're not familiar with all the details of Lewis and Clark, just quickly, they were requested by President Jefferson to see if there was a way to navigate the Missouri River from Missouri all the way to the Pacific Ocean for commerce and travel and things like that. So that was the main purpose of their journey. They left in 1803, I think, and they got here 1805. And of course, famously, the Indian woman Sacagawea and her husband helped lead them through the northwestern part of the country and into Oregon. In fact, when they picked up Sacagawea and her husband to join their team in North Dakota, she was already 6 months pregnant by that point, and they stayed there for the winter in North Dakota. They built a fort there. She had her baby, and then a couple of months later, she went with them and her husband on the rest of the trail over to Oregon and took her baby with her. Now, even though there were other guides along with Lewis and Clark, the reason that Sacagawea is so famous, not least of which is because she was one of the only women, if not the only woman in the party, but because of that, she was able to soften the way and sweet talk the Indian tribes along the way into trading with them, and just became more of a peaceful presence rather than a bunch of men, European men arriving in an Indian camp and trying to negotiate. She really paved the way for an easy time for them to cross through this area. And Captain Clark, there's a quote back there that said, Captain Clark said that having a woman in a troop of men was a token of peace.
They're very confident that this isn't the exact spot necessarily, but like it's literally within this yards here. So this would have been her and her husband's quarters. And the captain's next to him.
So this is labeled as the
Charbonneau,
which
Family room.
is Sacagawea's family. She and her husband would have stayed in here with their baby. And her husband was actually the interpreter for the group.
Yeah. And then I think this was the captain's quarters,
Oh, yeah.
which looked like he's got a meeting,
Right.
dining and meeting area. Interesting. Those are little right up here. Some maps. Yeah, and bunks for the men. Look how short they had to have been.
Well, we watched two great movies in there. One was from the Indian perspective, and another one about the story of Lewis and Clark. But it took about 45 minutes to watch those, so we're going to skip a hiking trail now so that we can keep going and explore the city of Astoria. Here's Astoria, Oregon, and then this bridge here goes over to the state of Washington. And this is the Columbia River that is the border between Oregon and Washington that Lewis and Clark came down on their way out to the Pacific Ocean. We're coming up on another end of a cross-country route. Route 30, historic US Route 30, begins in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we have showed you the beginning of 30 before here in Atlantic City, and it goes all the way over to Astoria, Oregon, so we're going to see the very end of it now. Astoria is the home to the Oregon Film Museum. It's closed right now, unfortunately, but there are tons of movies that were filmed here in Astoria, and the most prominent one is the Goonies. The Goonies filmed at this jailhouse, and also we'll drive by Mikey's house as well. But other movies like Kindergarten Cop and Into the Wild, there's a whole list of them that were filmed here. another filming location for the Goonies up here in Astoria. And it's on top of this hill. This is Mikey's house. But you can see all these signs that say no vehicles. So it's on this little dirt road. There's signs everywhere that say residents only. Please don't drive up here to see the house, but you can walk up here. So that's kind of fun. We've got about over a 2-hour drive back to our campground, so we had to stop and get out for a little walk. We haven't walked all day. We've mostly been in the truck or in a visitor center.
Yeah, it's been not exactly strenuous walking.
So we found this little trail, Fishhawk Falls trail down to a little waterfall. Oh boy.
A little slick.
Yeah, that was a nice little walk. It only took about 5 minutes to get down here. Great payoff. All right, thanks for coming along with us to Oregon. What a beautiful coastline here. So glad that we were able to explore this week. Next week, we're going to head further north into Washington. So we're going to Canada. We're bypassing Washington and going to British Columbia for a little while, and then we'll come back down to Washington. So we'll see you there next time. Have a great week. Bye, guys.
Here we are on the other side of the road, and I've got questions.
What is happening? It's not a chicken, it's a rooster.
Oh, yes,
Don't get close to it. To be fair, there is a house up the road, but you seem kind of far from home, mister.
I want you to feed it.
Yeah.